Hey, what's up YouTube? The Basement Mauler here, and going to be giving you guys the lowdown on this new Stynylrez surface primer from Badger. I was able to pick it up at Adepticon, and it was making its debut there, and it is a acrylic polyurethane surface primer. It's very comparable to the Vallejo stuff. Now, I don't have any of the AK Interactive acrylic primer or the Ammo by MIG primer, so the one primer that I have to only make a comparison with is going to be the Vallejo stuff, so we'll use that. But right off the bat, this stuff is stated that there's no thinning necessary. You spray it between 20 to 30 psi, 4 to 6 inches away from the model, and it's supposed to, again, have the self-leveling qualities, adhere pretty well, pretty durable. The one thing that is very different is this does dry to a flat finish, which is something that I like. So right off the bat, it's getting points from me on that. It is pretty thick. So we take a look at this one here. You can see that I've already shaken the bottle, but I gave you guys a good example of it. So you take a look here, you can see it's very, very thick. Oh, I'm sorry, let me get the camera angle right. So you turn it, you see it's not really doesn't flow too well. There we go. So you can see there, and as I turn it around, it's very slow to flow. Right? So it is pretty thick. I've done some early spraying on it, and it does not flow that well in comparison to the Vallejo primer, which is also one that you can spray right out of the here we go. So you can see how it flows a lot better. So it looks like it's slightly thicker than this. Let me turn it so you can see how it just flows well. And this stuff, it's still, it's not going anywhere. So that's the that's the biggest difference I've seen. To say that it's going to be able to spray right out of the bottle, I don't know. I'm going to give it a try right now. I have my compressor set up at 28 psi, and I'm going to try both a bottom feed and a gravity feed airbrush. So let me get things ready, and I'll be right back with you. All right, so I got my a Water Revolution bottom feed airbrush set up. It has a 0.5 needle, and let's give this thing a try. So I'm going to check for flow. So you can see the air is pretty strong in there, and it is, like I said, 28 psi, and there ain't nothing going out. I mean you can, I don't know if you can see with the light, but I have primer in the cup, and it looks like, there we go. So there it is coming out. So you can hear it spits pretty bad. So I don't know if the self-leveling qualities of the primer will take care of that once you spray it on your surface. But let's take a look. I have this piece of styrene. I have cleaned it, so the only thing that's on there is dust. So let's give it a try here and see what happens. So you can see, I guess the initial start, it spits pretty bad. You can see it is pretty thick, even with the high air pressure. You can see how much overspray you got on it, and trust me, it's not the needle. It's just the stuff is extremely thick, right? So yeah, that's, if you're spraying down a primer coat, it may not be an issue. They have that much overspray. All right. It does appear to be leveling out, so I'm not seeing the graininess of the thick primer show up. So I'm gonna let that dry, spray some air on it. But it is pretty thick. I mean, you really have to, you know, it really takes some work to push that primer through the airbrush. Alright, so I'm laying it dry, and let's see if we can get a feel for it. So I'm just rubbing my finger through it, trying to see if I'm picking up any graininess, but I'm actually not. So I'm actually surprised that even though, you know, it sprays with that overspray, it really does level out. So I'm actually surprised by that, because I was thinking I would feel, you know, that type of graininess on it. But at the same time, if it's your primer coat, you know what, that graininess is only going to help any subsequent layers of paint really bite into the primer. So again, I was surprised that it sprayed this well. So now I'm going to try it with my gravity fed airbrush and see how it pushes it through there, which I would imagine it may be a little bit easier, but I will let you guys know. So give me a second. Alrighty folks, so I got my Eclipse loaded up with the primer. Again, I'm still running it at 28 psi. Now let's take a look what we get. Now this, whoa, this is a 0.3 needle. So you can see you really have to push it. The primer does take a lot of effort to get through this airbrush. And the fact also that as you spray it anywhere else, like if I spray it here just to get it out of there, you almost have to get air in there, because once you put it back on your models and you start your first initial spray, you're going to get that splatter, which I got. But same thing here, you know what I mean? It's a tighter spray pattern because of the point. I think there's a 0.35 needle in there. It's just, I don't know. It's spraying well and it's ending up well. The only issue that I have, and again, it's just my personal reference, is I almost feel like the primer is just coming out too slow out of the airbrush, right? So again, that's just me. But you know, even if you were to take this and let's say you spray a surface and you just get in there, you know, that's, for a primer coat, you know, that's not bad at all. You know, there's a lot of folks that like to put down their primer like they would a base coat of paint, which again, there's nothing wrong with it, but from a true purpose of primer, you really just want to lay down a dusting coat, and that's going to provide the teeth that all the layers of paint after that are going to need to, you know, to bite onto the surface. So again, it's just personal preference. You know, it's same thing. The smaller needle takes a little bit longer for it to, if you want a full coat or a nice coat of primer on there, you know what, it is going to take you a while, at least without thinning it. It dries extremely fast, so that's good. Let's get some air in there. Let's give it a try. And let's see. So, again, you know, here's what I sprayed down with the bottom feed. Here's the, you know, there's nothing coming off. What I just sprayed down, there's a little bit of, you know, spitting that came out of the airbrush, so I'm not going to touch that. But everything else, it's working out pretty well. You know, again, it does level out. Okay, so let me get in there. I'm going to get a little thicker spray pattern in there. Like I said, if you're used to laying down a nice coat of primer on your model, you know, this is going to take you a while. Especially when you take a look at it from an airbrush standpoint. I think it's become almost the norm for everyone to use at least a 0.35 or lower needle, and that's become kind of the standard, right? So you want, you know, you're using that for everything you do. But again, the primer labeling does state that it recommends a 0.5 needle or more. So again, it dries awfully quick. You know, you can see that I'm really rubbing it, and this is just right after I sprayed it. There's really nothing coming off. There we go. Yeah, it's working out pretty well. So I just, you know, this is straight out of the bottle. I'm going to try and thin it out some and let you guys see how that comes out. So give me 1 second, I'll set everything up. All right, so I've went ahead and thinned down the primer about 20%, and I thinned it with the Vallejo airbrush cleaner, and it works very well with it. So we're gonna see what we get here now with this here. So I'm gonna check my flow pattern. So right off the bat, I mean, you can see it's spraying out there nice and smooth. Not to say that the final finish on the stuff that wasn't thin was not acceptable. I'll show you guys a comparison of the two right now. But here, let's see. So now we see a nice smooth primer coat going on there. All right, so you know, you can see it's very thin, but that's the way I like to spray my primer. Again, is that a problem? I don't know if not following the instructions in the on the bottle is going to affect the durability of it. It's something we're going to have to test. All right. Well, you can see this was very, very thin. So let's see right there. And it's really up to the user and how they prefer to see their primer sprayed on there. You know, I think at this level of thinning, I'm going to put a little bit more in there, like a drop or two in there more, and see. Again, I'm not sure. I just started using it, so I don't have kind of what ratio works for me. I'm just, you know, shooting from the hip here. So I'm going to spray a little bit more thinner on there. I'm sorry, not thinner, but I put a little bit more primer in the cup. And I mix it up a little bit. Get some of the older stuff in there, and let's see how it sprays now. Alright, so you can see it is a little bit thicker. You know, this is probably more of a like a, you know, 15% thinner to the primer, and it's actually spraying down pretty well. Now, because it is a lot thinner, it's going to take a little bit to dry, so let me throw some air on it. Again, the PSI is the same at 28 is what we're running our compressor. I'm just going to give it a try. A nice dry here. You can still see some wetness. So give me a second. There we go. So it's pretty dry now. All right, nothing's coming off. You know what? It's just as smooth as well, but you can see it just does not rub off. Well, I got a little bit rub off right there. All right, but again, I think that was more of like a dust particle that got in there. But if I do it here, I mean, you can see that I'm rubbing it pretty aggressively, and it's really staying on there. All right, the stuff that I had thinned out here, right, looks like it was too thin. You can see it come right off. So you do looks like you are going to have to be careful if you don't like the thickness of it out of the bottom and you chose to thin it out. You just got to be careful. You don't, you know, you're not going to be able to thin it out the same as you would paints, because you can see here, and this was at about 20, like I said, 20 to 25% thinner to primer. This is about 15. You can see it makes a big difference. But again, you can hear that rub, and the stuff is not coming off, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and spray over the stuff that was a lot thinner. All right, and we're just gonna see if how well does it stick. So let's give it a nice coat over it. The good thing is when I went to flush it out, you know, that stuff, you know, it's very easy to clean. Very easy to clean. So let me just dry it off over here. I'm just spraying air. Alright. And I'll tell you what, I really like the fact that it comes out with a flat finish. To me, I think a flat finish primer is the way to go. It provides that the surface where it's, you know, it's somewhat rough because it is a flat finish. So all the layers of paint that you put on after it are just going to adhere that much better. All right. So that's it. Let's give this a try now. See. So I just sprayed it on there, and I am going to start rubbing it pretty aggressively. And you can see, I just laid it down not even 1 minute ago, and it is not coming off. And you can hear it. You know, that's how aggressive I'm rubbing this primer, and it is not coming off. So you know what, I don't know if it's gonna make any difference for me to use the gravity feed airbrush. With the bottom feed, it works out fine. Actually, for me, it's going to work out even better because I don't really use the bottom feed revolution anymore. It does have the 0.5 needle in it, so the coverage spread on this styrene was really good. It gives you a nice broad coverage. So you know what, the stuff works. I mean, you guys can see for yourself. Look at. Look at it. And it has not even been resting on there for 10 minutes. So, you know what? I'm really impressed. All right. So I think what I want to do next is I'm going to prime both of the pieces of plastic and then get some painting on top of it, and let's try some masking tests. So, but I'll tell you what. The first initial impressions on this stuff are very positive. It is very thick. You can spray it on. It may give you the look as if it's not gonna, you know, work, but it does level out. It works really good. I've tried it both out of the bottle and thinned out with the Vallejo airbrush cleaner, and this stuff works freaking awesome. So let me get set up for our next test. Okay, so I went ahead and primed both of the pieces of styrene. So they both have even coverage, and what I want to do is I want to put one of these to the side because I'll do some more testing on it after it's had 24 hours to cure. So I'll put that off to the side, and on this one here, what I want to do, okay, is go ahead and paint over it. So I want to split it in half. I'm going to do like a camel paint job because I want to be able to, one is lay down a coat of paint over the primer and see how that reacts to the masking, and then I want to take another one where it has two coats of paint, one over each other, and see how that reacts to the masking. And if it's as good as what I've seen so far, we may see the paint peel off, but the primer should still be there, and we should not see the underneath styrene. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Vallejo Air Mono Air paint, and I'm going to paint you know, a light green on one half all over, and then I'm going to come in with a darker green and do just a freehand camo job on it. And then on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm not going to layer the two colors over one another. So let me get the airbrush set up, and we'll do that right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half, or close to it. Good enough. Let me get one here. So that's good enough. Now we're just going to go to town with it. Just lay down a misting coat. Let that dry for a little bit before I come in with the deeper coats. So, like I said, I mean, it's still pretty good to touch. I just washed my hands as well to try and get some of the primer that I got on while cleaning the airbrush. Again, I definitely really like the dead flat finish that it comes with. So. Let me throw some air on here, and let's go ahead and finish the painting on that. So like I said, so far from everything I've seen on this new primer, I really dig it. So the biggest thing that's going to be is how well does it stand to masking. I'll probably try sanding it later on, and that's good, or I'm out of paint. So let me load up the airbrush and I'll see you guys right back. Okay, so here's what we got. I went ahead and sprayed the light green. I completely covered this half right here that you see with the wavy camo. On this side, I just sprayed the camo pattern, and then I went and filled in the gaps with these this other color, this darker green. Now that's on this side. On this side, I sprayed the dark camo olive green, the dark green over the light green. Okay, so this actually has the primer, the layer of the pale green, and the dark green on top. This is still one layer of paint over the primer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and let this dry off. I don't know, for a couple hours. I'll be I got to step out, but I'm going to come back. Then I'm going to mask it, spray over it, and see where it, you know, and see what happens. I'm going to do the same thing with the other styrene primered sheet that I put to a side, but there I'm going to wait 24 hours. So I think that will be a decent enough test, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so I've let this dry for about roughly, what is it, about 5.5 hours. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and mask off. All right, and we're going to use the Tamiya masking tape, the Scotch blue painters. I am going to put this down on the cutting mat just to take some of the you know, some of the tackiness out, which is what I would normally do when I mask. If I don't have this, or if I'm just masking too large of an area, I'm not going to use this. I'm going to use this here. And I have here some poster tack. So I'm going to go ahead and put all the different masking, and then I am going to use Vallejo Mono Air White on top, let it dry off, and then we're going to peel off the masking and see what happens there. Okay, so we already have applied the all the masking tape and the poster tack, so you can see it's on there. I've gone in there and really pressed it down. Alright, they got a little bit there. But it's on there pretty good. Okay, it's I press it in there, and now let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and just start spraying the white over it. Alright, so put in a misty coats. So, and this is the area that I did the freehand camo, so it's only one layer of paint over the primer. Alright, I'm gonna get in there nice and good. So the blue masking stuff, I like it. It's just, it's a thicker tape than the Tamiya. And I think if you're careful with it, it's, you know, it serves its purpose. Everybody's just starting to clog up a little bit. There we go. Let me get a Q-tip to clean the tip off, the needle. There we go. There we go. Much better. And now let's go on this side. Pit side. There we go. Oh, got some splatter all over the place. And it looks like this thing is clogging up for some reason. I probably didn't clean the primer that good on it. There we go. There we go. That's the flow we're looking for. Alright, clean this thing off. Now that's the only thing I hate with the acrylic paint. The paint buildup on the tip. Alright, and now we go on this side. It's really starting to splatter, but for what we're trying to do, for the test that we're trying to do, it's fine. See, look at it, clogged up again. I'm laying it on there. Let me turn this around just so I can get at a better angle over here. There we go. Perfect. And the tip on. Wide spray pattern here. Really dry up. There we go. Let me go ahead and flip this way just so I can get in there at a different angle on the other side and just use up as much as we can. Alrighty. Oh, I'm out of paint. But you know what? That's good enough. So we'll let that. I'll go ahead and let that dry off a little bit. Alright, so let me let that dry off, and I'm going to clean out my airbrush in the meantime, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and let this dry for a couple minutes, and we'll start peeling off the masking material. So like I said, this here was the you know, basically one layer of paint. This is 2 layers of paint over the masking. So we'll try this one only because I would think if, you know, you're gonna have a less chance of peeling paint with only 1 layer of paint, because, you know, this was basically done the same day, which is not normally how I would paint. You know, I would primer the model, let it sit for 24 hours or 48 hours before I even got back to it, then lay down a base coat and then do the same thing, and then lay down a secondary coat of paint if it was camel, you know, 48 hours after that as well. So, you know, I typically give about anywhere from 48 hours to like a week. Yeah, and sometimes even a month. Not because I'm trying to let the paint dry, it's just that's the pace in which sometimes I build. So let's start with here first. I'm going to peel off the poster tack. So I'm doing it, you know, pretty slowly. Alright, and you can see there, you know, for camel on an aircraft or even on a tank, it, you know, gives a nice, you know, really nice look, you know, feathered look if you wanted to. I mean, it all depends on how you angle the airbrush. Okay, but no peeling paint at all whatsoever. So that's good. Now I'm going to try this one here, and this is the blue masking tape, so this stuff's a lot stronger than the Tamiya. But as you see here, there is no peeling paint. Check that out. Now, let's try the Tamiya tape. Oh, got the first piece, which is still okay. No peeling paint. And let's take care of this one here. Okay. So, you know what? That is, that's pretty awesome. You know, considering that I lay down everything, you know, within a couple hours of one another. So now, let's try the side that has the 2 layers of paint, which, I'll be honest with you guys, before I even do it, I was assuming that if it's going to peel, it's going to peel on this side, only because, you know, we sprayed down the primer, then the base coat, then we sprayed over the base coat with the secondary color. You know, we didn't, you know, give it any time for it to cure or anything like that, but you know what, that's why this review is here for. So let's start with the poster tack. Again, you know, if you want a nice feathered edge on your camo, it did the job right. I don't see any paint peeling. Now let's try this one here. So now we're going to go with the Scott's blue painter's tape, and I just want to make sure you guys can see it good. So there is some bleed through on the paint, but you know what, I laid it on pretty thick, so normally I don't put as many coats of paint, but for the test that we wanted to do, so let's see. So you have some bleed through on the paint, but it did not peel, and that's just the white paint. Okay, and again, sometimes you get that with the blue painter's tape. It just, for whatever reason, depending if you don't put it in a paper bag or something, or not a paper bag, in a Ziploc bag, the sides of the tape here will, you know, tend to collect you know, dust and stuff like that. So then when you put it in there, it won't adhere that well to the surface because of all the crap that it builds up. So now we're going to do the final test here, which is, again, the Tamiya tape, and you can see nice sharp line. Let's see what that is right now, but I don't see any peeling paint. Again, just a little bit of bleed through, but I don't see any peeling paint on the tape. This is just bleed through. You know, that was just a piece of dust or whatever. So there you have it. You know what? I am really impressed with the with this Stynylrez, because you know what, it really does work. Now I'm gonna do a similar test with the Vallejo primer, but I can tell you right now, you know, just doing this, I am I'm a believer. You know, I'm not a Badger fanboy, but I tell you what, the first impressions on using this Stynylrez surface primer, you know what, I would say this stuff is awesome. So what we'll do is we'll do a similar test on the other piece of styrene that we prime it up. So I'm going to let that set for 24 hours. And I think on this one, because this test was, you know, went very well with the masking, on this one what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try and sand it tomorrow. So I'm going to try and sand this tomorrow, see what happens. You know, does it peel? Does it sand like normal primer? But I'm going to let it really cure for 24 hours before I do that. So I'll be posting up a part 2 on the Stynylrez, the Badger Stynylrez surface primer review on the on my channel. But as you can see here, you know, right, the you know, the test is in the pudding, right, or something like that. But you can see right there, no peeling paint. All right, so I'll be posting up part 2 shortly.